Hello, everyone. I'm James Carroll. Welcome to Xul Podcast, Shooting the Reality.
And I'm Emily Laura. We're excited for this one.
In today's deep dive, we're going to look at how the printing press, how it revolutionized access to information. You know how we can just pick up a book and read pretty much anything we want. Well, it wasn't always like that.
Yeah, it's amazing to think about how something we totally take for granted today, like printing books, was once a groundbreaking innovation that changed everything.
It really makes you wonder what life was like back then, before you could just walk into a bookstore or a library and just grab any book you wanted.
Well, imagine being a scholar in the 1400s. Like, you're hungry for knowledge, but your only option is to find a handwritten manuscript, probably copied by a monk, in some dimly lit scriptorium. Those books were super expensive, prone to errors, and often literally chained to death to prevent theft.
Wow. Talk about a limited selection. No wonder the printing press caused such a stir.
Oh, it was a total game changer. Suddenly, books were being produced, like at a rate never seen before. And it wasn't just religious texts anymore. We see the rise of all sorts of printed material, pamphlets, travel guides, even cookbooks.
It's like the world's information just suddenly became unlocked.
And it wasn't just the content that changed, but the way people read, too. Imagine going from those big, ornate manuscripts to smaller, more portable books. You could actually curl up with a book by the fire, or take it with you when you travel.
That must have been a revelation. Did this change in book format have any other ripple effects?
Absolutely. Think about storage. With smaller books, we see the emergence of the bookshelf, like we know it today. Before that, books were often stored flat in chests, but now you could line up rows and rows of books on shelves, like creating entire libraries right in people's homes.
Speaking of libraries, did the printing press have an impact on public libraries?
A huge impact. As these private book collections grew, people started bequeathing them to cities. This led to the rise of public libraries. Knowledge was becoming more and more accessible. It was a really wonderful consequence of this technology.
Okay, so we've talked about the explosion of books and the changes in reading habits, but let's talk about the actual printing process itself. Can you kind of paint a picture of what it was like back then?
Okay, so picture this. You walk into a bustling printing workshop. The air is thick with the smell of ink and paper. You see these massive wooden presses, each one a marvel of engineering. Each letter is cast in metal, meticulously arranged by hand into lines of text. It was a painstaking process for sure, but the results were transformative. Gutenberg's famous Bible, for instance, was printed using this beautifully ornate Gothic script.
Wow, that's incredible to think about. The level of craftsmanship involved, it must have been back-breaking work.
It was. But there was also this sense of pride and purpose. These printers were at the forefront of a revolution, and they knew it. They were democratizing knowledge, making it available to a wider audience than ever before.
Speaking of democratizing knowledge, let's talk about literacy. The printing press must have had a huge impact on literacy rates.
Absolutely. With books becoming more affordable and so easily available, more and more people could learn to read and write. Printed books themselves actually became tools for literacy, like primers and textbooks were popping up everywhere.
So it was kind of the snowball effect. More books led to more literacy, which led to even more demand for books.
Exactly. And this rise in literacy really fueled the humanist movement, which was all about rediscovering the wisdom of the ancient Greeks and Romans. Key figures like Nicholas Jensen and Aldus Manutius play a crucial role in this. They printed these beautiful editions of classical texts.
It's like the printing press breathed new life into these ancient works.
And not only that, it also allowed for greater accuracy. Before, scholars had to rely on those handwritten copies that could be riddled with errors. Now they could compare the printed texts to the original manuscripts, making sure they had a faithful reproduction of these ancient works.
That must have been a game changer for scholars.
It was. It led to this explosion of new scholarship. With more accurate texts, scholars could really dig deeper into their research, sparking new debates, leading to new discoveries. It was like this invisible web of knowledge being woven across Europe, connecting scholars through the printed word.
But this newfound access to information, it wasn't always met with open arms, was it? I mean, we can't forget about the backlash, especially from the Catholic Church.
Right. The church, which had held a monopoly on knowledge and interpretation for so long, started to feel threatened by the power of the printing press. Think about it. Suddenly, people could read the Bible in their own language without needing a priest to interpret it for them, and reformers like Martin Luther were using the printing press to spread their ideas, challenging church doctrine and authority.
So the printing press played a key role in the Reformation.
Absolutely. It was a catalyst for religious and social upheaval. That ability to print and spread ideas on such a mass scale really challenged the established order, leading to debates, protests, even wars.
It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as printing could have such a profound impact on history.
And the church wasn't the only one who was concerned. Even some intellectuals worried about the potential dangers of making certain texts available to just anyone.
Really? What kind of dangers were they worried about?
Well, they argued that some ideas were just too complex or even dangerous for people without proper training or guidance. They feared that giving everyone access to information could lead to misinterpretations, confusion, or even social unrest.
So like an early version of the too much information problem we face today.
Exactly. It's a debate that's still going on today. How much information is too much? Who gets to decide what people should or shouldn't have access to? These are complex questions, and the printing press brought them to the forefront.
It's fascinating how technology from centuries ago can still spark such relevant conversations today. Speaking of technology, did the printing press itself evolve over time?
Oh, absolutely. Early printing presses were pretty simple, but they quickly became more sophisticated. We see the development of new typefaces, improved inks, more efficient methods of paper production. All of these advancements really fueled the printing revolution.
So it was this cycle of innovation. Each improvement led to even more possibilities.
Exactly. And this cycle of innovation, it didn't stop with the printing press itself. It led to other groundbreaking inventions, like the book wheel, which lets scholars consult multiple books at the same time.
Wait, a book wheel? What's that?
So imagine a rotating wheel with several books attached to it. Scholars could spin the wheel to access different books, almost like a medieval version of a multi-monitor setup.
That's incredible. It's amazing to think about the ingenuity that was sparked by the printing press.
And it wasn't just about scholarly pursuits either. The printing press had a huge impact on everyday life, from how people communicated to the way they learned.
Okay, so let's dive into that. How did the printing press change education?
Well, before the printing press, education was mostly limited to the elite, or people in religious orders. But once printed textbooks became more available, education became more accessible to a lot more people.
So you could say the printing press helped democratize education.
Exactly. And it led to the development of new teaching methods. Now they could put printed images and diagrams in textbooks, which made learning more engaging and visual. We also start to see universities and schools that were dedicated to non-religious subjects, not just theology.
It's amazing to think about how the printing press revolutionized, not just what people learned, but how they learned.
Absolutely. It totally transformed education. And we can't forget the impact on language itself. The printing press was key in standardizing vernacular languages, which before had existed in all sorts of regional dialects.
So before the printing press, communication between different regions could have been difficult.
Oh, yeah. Imagine trying to understand someone speaking a dialect from hundreds of miles away. The printing press needed consistent spelling and grammar. This helped to create a more unified language, which made communication easier and also fostered a sense of shared national identity.
Wow. It's incredible to think about how something as technical as printing could have such a huge impact on culture and identity.
Yeah. And it just shows you how technology and culture are intertwined. They constantly shape and influence each other.
That's a great point. It makes you wonder what long-term impact our current technology will have on us. Maybe we'll find out in a few centuries.
Maybe we will.
Well, it's mind-blowing to think about how this one invention had such a ripple effect across society, culture, even politics.
Yeah, it's true. Those ripples are still felt today. Think about it. The whole idea of mass media, the printing press was basically the first form of it. It allowed information and ideas to be shared with a huge audience.
Right, which paved the way for newspapers,
Yeah.
magazines, radio, television, and of course the internet.
Exactly. It established this fundamental concept that information could spread really far and wide, shaping public opinion, influencing big events.
It's like the printing press planted the seed
Yeah.
for our modern interconnected world.
I think so. And consider the concept of intellectual property. The printing press really brought about the need for copyright laws. Authors and publishers wanted to protect their work from being copied.
Which is an even bigger issue today in the digital age.
Oh, absolutely. The challenges we face now, protecting intellectual property. In a world of instant copying and sharing, you can trace those roots right back to the printing press.
Wow. It's fascinating how these issues from centuries ago
Yeah.
are still relevant today, just in a different context.
And let's not forget about science, like the scientific method. The printing press had a big impact there, too. Suddenly you could print and share scientific findings, Data, theories allowed for more collaboration and scrutiny, which actually sped up the pace of discovery.
So the printing press was a catalyst for the scientific revolution, and its influence is still shaping how we do science today.
Exactly. Those principles of transparency, peer review,
Yeah.
sharing knowledge, those are all crucial to modern science, and they can be traced back to the printing revolution.
It's really remarkable this one invention had such a profound and lasting impact on so many things we do.
It really shows the power of human ingenuity, our endless pursuit of knowledge. The printing press opened up so many possibilities, and its legacy continues to inspire us.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about how all these different areas were impacted by this one invention.
It really speaks to how important it was. And it's not just history either. A printing press, like in any technology really, is a tool. And whether its impact is positive or negative depends entirely on us, how we choose to use it.
That's a good point. It's up to us to use technology, to make things better for everyone.
Exactly. To spread knowledge, foster understanding, create a more enlightened world.
Well said. Well, I think we've covered a lot today about the printing press revolution.
We've talked about how it worked, its impact on literacy and knowledge, the challenges it posed to those in power, and even its role in shaping the world we live in today.
It's been an amazing journey, and we've learned so much.
I agree.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the printing press revolution.
Thanks, everyone.
Subscribe, share, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. At Xul Podcast, we're not just talking about reality, we're shooting the reality.